Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Can't look you in the eye till I get this damn technical stuff out of the way. So how are you today? Thursday, April 10th, 2014. Yours truly. We got the summer Union Jack cap, Andy Cap style on, so you know that things are finally warmed up, so Beattie can't start the shows off crying the blues about the weather. It's still going to be a bit cool in spring, of course, but we're over the hump. Good stuff. I was at the town council meeting this morning in the public gallery just to let them know that I still intend to file an official nomination papers as soon as I get the $100 out of my personal funds to spare. By the way, this is the Dinosaur News. Dinosaur News brought to you most of the time 5 days a week. Brought to you by the BritishPeoplesLeague.com. Played hooky yesterday. I just couldn't get up the stage presence. I don't want to pop pills like some of the radio announcers in the so-called real world. We here in the underworld have to provide proper leadership. So getting myself pepped up for these shows has to be a natural thing, not artificial. And must apologize, I just couldn't get myself in the mood to face the camera. So we do these shows 5 days a week, but there's the slip every now and then. Well, we've been doing the shows daily since what? Mid-February. Probably missed maybe even 3 times. I think around it 3 times. But basically that's the scoop, 5 days a week. I don't know where to begin. I always say accent the positive on these shows. Well, the positive is that we few who really care are one day going to go through the margarine as a sharp knife through butter. I'd like to say there's thousands and thousands joining our camp, but there aren't. But regardless of that, the thousands and thousands in the regular world, it's implosion out there. Things are collapsing within. The racial struggle, and it is a racial struggle in cities. I guess it gets a bit boring repeating it. But aside from the racial struggle part, every now and then there's the sad, horrifying reminder that one's children might marry a multicultural. What can you do about that? You may have a friend whose daughter marries a multicult outside of the tribe, or son. And you find out, and then you realize, well, how are you going to recruit that person? They may end up with multicult grandkids. So we few who stick true to our race, we have to tighten up the choir. There's no exceptions. We exclude anyone who marries outside of the race. It's hard to to discuss matters, and then you find out a day or two later that so-and-so's son married someone from the Far East or whatever. Well, we just keep plugging along. That's all we can do. We know on our blind list we've got our pure friends, those who subscribe, although we have some subscribers I suspect just like to be nosy as to what Beattie's up to, the British People's League. And we're curveballing back to the motherland as much as possible. And the last broadcast we talked about the young fellows and gals getting geared up for a protest April 19th at South Africa House in Trafalgar Square, the United Kingdom, against the genocide, the white genocide in South Africa. That sounds so heavy duty. White genocide, yes. Well, what do you call it when our kind is just, our tribe are just marrying multi-cults? That is a form of genocide. It's the hardest part to combat that we've got. I don't know what it is that young fellows, young women of a white race would just want to marry another from another tribe. Do they have no respect? Were they taught nothing when they were young as to their heritage, their roots? It's pathetic. It was just brought home to me the other day. That's why I'm dwelling on that point. So that was the start of with the negativity. Now on the plus side, and I know, especially in America, all the doom and gloomers in the so-called white right, but up here in Canada, I'm going to say it, we are lucky to have Stephen Harper as the Prime Minister of Canada. A white family, a white Governor General that he appointed. Now, the press is after him today, April 10th. Big headlines, oh heavens! Out of 200 judges, Harper has only appointed three non-whites. That's a pretty good score. Pretty good score. Now, some of the real far-off radical types in the States will be going, oh yeah, but how many Jews were in there, Beattie? I don't know. Check it out. I'm sure there weren't many. But I'm telling you that Stephen Harper and the Conservative Party of Canada are doing the best they can to represent our old values, okay? And those of you who have been listening or following the British People's League for a few years know that I've really dwelled on the fact that 2 or 3 years back, he reinstituted the Royal Canadian Air Force, the Royal Canadian Navy, and the Red Ensign flying at the Memorial Grounds in France. So it's not all doom and gloom. We've got someone at least who represents some white values. I mean, think about that percentage. 3 minority out of 200 judges appointed by Harper, the Conservative Prime Minister. So that's a plus, and we have to give him full credit for that. Now, of course, being a politician in this day and age, the fact that a white racist would praise him for it would make him sick, no doubt. But hey, too bad. We're happy about it. I think we're sort of like a tennis court here today. We're bouncing the ball back and forth. On the plus side, we've got St. George's Day coming up April 23rd, Wednesday, April 23rd, and it's really becoming revitalized in the motherland, that's for sure. Now, we did a great concert type of thing at a local pub 2010 or 11 before some big, huge publicity came out against the British People's League. We were going to have a rally on 200 acres. Prior to that, we had a great hotel deal. Yours truly got up and thumped some drums along with a professional singer and a professional band organizer. Had a video going that was terrific called the John Beattie Song for St. George's Day. But the lady got all panicky when the bad publicity hit, and she demanded that the video be withdrawn. But there are many on the blind list who have seen the video, so you know of what I speak. Those people who were organized with us back then, they're still with us at heart. They're still out there. There's still contact. I had warned them about the bad publicity the more we grow. They couldn't believe it. They could not believe it. And the irony is a lot of that group that we'd organized were recent movers within Ontario, recent to the village of Minden. So they weren't aware of the big whoop-de-doo we had in 1989 that stirred up a lot of commotion. But that was very successful in 1989. If you check out my personal homepage way down at the bottom under timeline, it tells you about our great revitalization of ancient traditions in 1989. So, St. George's Day, what will happen here in Canada, it's hard to say. But certainly in the motherland it's being held and it's growing. It's a form of protest against the multicultural invasion that ordinary Joe and Sally in the motherland can feel comfortable with, raising the cost of St. George. We got Sambo meowing in the background. I don't know what his problem is. He's He's got more food than I have. I guess he just wants to get on air. So the St. George's is a pickup. But there has to be some kind of pickup in the motherland. The arrest of white patriots is ongoing week to week. Unbelievable, trumped-up charges, just say the wrong word. And again, I'm tying that in with the fact that the rioting in 2011 shook up the plutocracy, the rich establishment in the motherland. Fiercely shook them up. So as a result, they've got to appease the multi-cult mob by throwing at them young white patriots who just say the wrong word. You know that Croydon burning business, I brought it up in a previous video this very week, the Croydon business about Croydon burning in 2011 August for 3.5 days and nights. It brought back, you know how we all have these trigger words, Croydon burning. It brought back a movie, I recall, when movies were still white, bright, and beautiful. And it was, I was probably 10 or 12. I don't know, a decade or two after the war. And being in the RCAF later on, Royal Canadian Air Force, this particular movie rang a bell. I don't know the name of it. Maybe some of you out in the blind list might ring a bell. It was a Royal Air Force base in Croydon. Of course, now I don't know if there's still a base there. I don't think you can squeeze anything in. It too is swamped and crowded. Multi-cult invasion. But this particular movie, the RCA, the Royal Air Force gals, they had plotting, and I'm not talking the conspiracy crap in the States, plotting on big charts of where the Spitfires were. The Battle of Britain, the saviors. And so the Air Force women, Wrens, they had these long, almost like a pool cue stick with a pusher at the end of the stick. And they would push the marker representing a Spitfire plane, where the planes were, their last contact, were they on target over the Axis powers, etc. And in this particular movie, there was an engaged couple. So this airwoman was on the plotting board, plotting according to the last reports. And then suddenly there was a Mayday call. And, I think there was almost a dozen women. So it was a crowded, I mean, it was right in the middle of the Battle of Britain. It was a crowded board. But you could hear the microphones in the movie, and I believe movies were more accurate in those days, more tuned into really what happened. So you heard the microphone, and suddenly you heard the voice of a young pilot screaming out, "Mayday, Mayday!" And then nothing. And the gal, you could see the tears as she was plotting, and it was her fiance, pure fluke. It's like a fireman going to a fire and finds one of his relatives in the fire. So pure fluke. But to tie it in with the Croydon burning in 2011, the call back then in that movie was after the young fellow cried, "Mayday, Mayday," there was a dead silence. And then one of the higher-up wing commanders, big shot up in the booth, overseeing the plotting board, and he called out, or he instructed the radio operator from the base to call out, and he called out, "Croydon calling! Croydon calling!" And there was no answer. So the young Air Force gal plotting on the big map, on the big board, knew that her fiancé was dead. But the parallel is eerie. Croydon calling, Croydon calling. Now jump that up decades into the future to 2011, and it's Croydon burning. Croydon is burning. And I'm repeating the Croydon business because, you know, each summer is just a flip of the coin. It's almost as if it depends how many white patriots the state can arrest to appease the multi-cult mob. But the establishment's caught in the middle here, because the more arrests they make of white patriots, the more there's going to be a white underground. And when an official white underground, let's just say when it happens, the establishment will find out about it, just as in historical undergrounds that are used to save their countries. So that's the scoop there. One of our coaches in the blind list put it very well. Britain is at war right now. Again, I repeat, if you doubt that Britain isn't at war, Google London, UK riots 2011. London, UK riots 2011. And you'll see 2 or 3 BBC video specials that come up after the rioting. Watch it. There was one particular BBC video, a bit over an hour in length, covered all aspects of it. I think it'll shock even some of our regular viewers. It's amazing to me how the time flies, especially when I miss a day. We don't like being alarmists, but that's reality, okay? This isn't a picnic. There's no way this is going to end without bloodshed. The only way we're going to reclaim our lands, bloodshed will have to happen. I'm not promoting it. I'm saying it's a fact throughout history. When you push people up against the wall, they are going to rebel and fight back. And that corny statement I made the last show discussing Croydon. Britain, multicultures pouring in and squeezing in by the hundreds of thousands. How can you squeeze all those people into an overcrowded island? I've seen a couple of shots of beach shots of the summer goes down to the beaches by Brighton and so on. You just have to look at a couple of shots there. Now, that's the way a lot of British like to be, surrounded by people. That's fine and dandy. But on the beaches, not for this boy. You know, they're on the beaches, but they're crowded. The high streets, the main streets of the villages. Last time I was over there in 1989, and you couldn't hardly squeeze through. It's overcrowded. Except, of course, for the plutocrats who sit on their big estates. Well, that's going to change, too, when there's an upheaval. Because all the crap that has faced the Emma West is going to rebound in the face of the establishment. And the police are going to be with us. The average rank and file copper is going to be with us. I guess that's all I can stress. It's not a picnic. We're not expressing hatred. Except for the politicians who allowed this all to happen. They're the ones who passed the legislature, opened the gates. Then you can say, well, the people only get the politicians they vote for. Excuse me, how about this? If they haven't denied freedom of speech to so many young, fine British patriots, if we had full free speech, including this boy here with the 200 acres that got squashed 2011 here in Canada, if we had the free speech totally and completely as we're supposed to have, then the immigration would have been stopped long ago. So other means are there, folks. Other means are there. And I will suggest to the security types that are out there, little Johnny Beattie here is just a pensioner. British People's League is just a hobby. So you're not going to find anything nefarious on these premises. I'm clean. Never owned a gun in my life. All I have is a yap, have yap, can type, will travel. Okay? So we'll talk at you tomorrow, April 11th. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Pass the link of these shows around. Please do so. Bye for now.